Andrew Gamero is the vice chair. Please wave. And Amir Mahmood, chairperson. Rick Turner, chairperson. And Gavin McLean. Thank you. And our secretary treasurer is Julie Maloney. And with us, we also have the planner, Thomas Dysart, and Ryan Windle, who is the manager of the planning for the town of Bradford. Thank you very much for being here. And I'd like to call the meeting to order. And I would need a mover to do that, please. Please put your hands up. Mr. McLean, moved by. And seconded, Rick Turner. All in favor? Thank you. The motion has been carried. This meeting is now been called to order. Tonight's meeting is a committee of adjustment that will now commence, and the adoption of the first item is the adoption of the agenda, the August 26th, 2020 agenda that has been circulated and it needs to be approved as circulated, and I require a mover, please. Andrew, a seconder, please. Mr. Mahmood, all in favor? Thank you. The agenda has been approved. The next item is any declaration of pecuniary interest. Seeing none, the next item on the agenda is the adoption of the past minutes. The recommendation is that the minutes from the July 22nd, 2020 meeting be adopted as circulated. I require a mover, please. Rick. Seconded by Mr. McLean. All in favor? Thank you. Minutes have been adopted. Madam Secretary, is there any correspondence to the committee?
No,
Needs to be addressed? None.
There is none.
Thank you. Next order of business is the order of business hearing of application. I would like to provide an introduction to the purpose of our meeting. Welcome to the Bradford West Goldenberry Committee of Adjustment meeting. This meeting is a statutory electronic public hearing held pursuant to the Planning Act to consider applications requesting consent and or minor variances from the provisions of the municipality's zoning bylaws. In accordance with the Municipal Act and to the town procedural bylaw, this Committee of Adjustment meeting is being held electronically with no in-person attendance. As per the Planning Act, the committee shall hear the applicant and every other person who has pre-registered with the Secretary Treasurer who wishes to be heard in favor of or against any application. Written notice of tonight's hearing was provided to the applicant, prescribed agencies, and adjacent property owners in accordance with the requirements of the Planning Act and applicable regulations. Signage was also provided on the subject properties. This electronic meeting is being live streamed to the town YouTube channel and will be recorded for later viewing. As an explanation to the meeting procedure this evening, for each application that will be considered tonight, the following process will occur. I will briefly outline the purpose of the application. The applicant, agent, or representative will then be invited by the committee to make a presentation on the proposed application. It is the applicant's decision whether they wish to speak or let the application proceed on the merits of the information as received. I will invite the Secretary Treasurer to present any additional correspondence received for the application being considered. I will then invite the committee members to comment and ask questions on the application. Please raise your hand when you wish to speak. Following any initial comment from the applicant, I will ask the Secretary Treasurer to invite members of the public who have registered to make an oral statement in relation to the application. Those members of the public who wish to speak must clearly state their name and address. As information is being recorded according to the Municipal Act and the Municipal Freedom of Information and Protection Privacy Act, will form part of the public record. Each individual may speak only once on an issue, and once discussed has commenced in respect to a motion, no further presentation shall be made. Please ensure that all questions and/or comments are directed through the chair, and if relevant, I will request the appropriate person to respond. It should be noted that the applicant will be given the opportunity to respond to any questions or comments that the committee feels relevant. Should the committee make a decision approving or refusing an application, the Secretary Treasurer shall issue a written notice of the decision subject to the requirements of the Planning Act. Upon issuance of the notice of decision, a 20-day appeal period commences during the applicant and/or public may appeal the decision of the Committee of Adjustment to the local planning appeal tribunal, subject to the requirements of the Planning Act. A copy of the decision of the committee will be sent to the applicant and to each person who provided written comment and/or participated electronically or by counsel at the hearing and who has filed with the Secretary Treasurer a written request for notice of the decision. Owners and agents will automatically be notified. You may obtain copies of the reports being considered tonight by contacting the Secretary Treasurer, Committee of Adjustment via email at planninginfo@townofbwg.com or calling 905-775-5366 extension 1400. And that's my introductory comments. And the first item on the agenda tonight is a minor variance application D13-20-02. The owner is Gus and Helen Basantes. The applicant is Christina Dunsmore, agent for the Barrie Fiberglass Pools and Spas Company. And the location of the property is at 141 Romanelli Crescent. The purpose of the application, the applicant is applying for relief from the zoning bylaw 2010-050 as amended, respecting the rear lot line setback for pool surrounds less than 0.6 meters in height. And I will ask Christina to make a presentation. Can you hear me?
I can, yeah, sorry. I was just clicking off my microphone. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
So we are looking to, the installation of a pool was done at the 141 Romanelli Crescent. We did provide a patio surround for the client. There was an error made when pouring the concrete. The required setback is 1.2 meters. To be very honest, it was human error and read wrong on the diagram for the install team. And unfortunately, the concrete was poured too close to the rear property line. The side property lines are fine. The concrete was poured at 0.6 meters rather than the 1.2. And so we're just looking to the town, to the committee to apply for to accept the minor variance and allow for the 0.6 meter setback instead of the 1.2.
Thank you. No further information? Not at this time. Thank you. Madam Secretary Treasurer, is there any additional correspondence on this application?
You're muted.
Sorry. Yes, there was one email that was received today by Hanjiang Yang, who is a neighbor of the owners of 141 Romanelli Crescent. He had individual had 3 questions, wondering if the pool will affect their or the applicant's, the owner's foundation. Also asking that if they were allowed to have the pump for the pool running late at night or after 10 p.m. and also requesting to be circulated a copy of the decision after the meeting. And that is it.
So the pump would run up to the homeowner. They can be timed either at 24 hours or 12 hours on, 12 hours off. It could potentially run after 10 o'clock p.m. If the homeowner wished to have it running that often. The sound of the pump wouldn't be any more, it would be actually significantly less than just a regular air conditioner. So I couldn't foresee that noise would cause any problem. No different than any other pool equipment or, like I said, an air conditioner on any property. The installation of the pool itself would have no impact on the foundation of the home, nor would the patio. It is sloped properly for drainage and whatnot, and the proper material was used for backfilling and to ensure that everything is running off properly type thing.
Okay, thank you very much. No other correspondence, right?
Nope, that is it.
Thank you. Committee members, I'm going to go by, ask each one of you if you have any comments or questions. I'll start with Rick, please.
Yeah, just got one quick question. When the error was noticed, is that something, once the concrete's been poured, that anything could have been done, or if the concrete's poured, it's kind of set?
Yeah, unfortunately, we didn't, to be very honest, we didn't realize the error until after the final inspection was called for. We had called for final inspection, as you would do for any pool installation, to inquire for the pool fence permit. And it was then that we were notified of the error. It shouldn't affect any other thing in a negative impact other than just the actual setback was not followed, unfortunately.
Thank you. That's all of the questions I have.
Thank you. Mr. McLean? No questions. Thank you. Andrew?
No questions or comments. Thank you.
Thank you. And Mr. Mahmood?
No question. I visited. It looks nice. So nothing. I don't see anything. No question.
Thank you. There's no one from the public who is registered to speak on this?
No, there is not.
Thank you. As such, I will ask the committee members to make a decision, move for approval or refusal, and I'll leave it to for a nomination, please. If you wish to discuss it among yourselves. Mr. Turner.
I'll make a motion to approve the application subject to the conditions laid out by the planner.
Thank you. Do you have a seconder? Mr. Mahmood? Thank you. All in favor? Thank you. The motion has been carried, and the application is approved, subject to possible conditions or restrictions as outlined in the planning staff report. And
Thank you.
any other questions from it? You okay with that? Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Have a great night.
Thank you. The second item on the agenda is a minor variance application D13-20-03. The owner is Wendy and Don Principe, and the applicant is Don Principe, and the location of the property is 90 Church Street. And the purpose of the application is the applicant is applying for relief from zoning bylaw 2010-050 as amended, respecting the maximum height of an accessory structure in a residential 2R2 zone and interior side lot line setbacks to facilitate construction of a new garage. Mr. Principe, would you like to address the committee?
You want to take your microphone off mute.
Sorry, is that okay now?
Yes.
Yes, go ahead.
Okay, thank you. Hope everybody's having a good night. There's two variations that we're asking for, and one was for a height to complement our house, our century home with a high peak. And the other one was a setback. So we need to have a little bit more room for parking. So there was just the two items there.
So for clarification, the height, the requirements are 3.0 meters. You wish to go 4.5 meters, right?
Correct.
And the setback minimum requirements is 3.0 meters, and you wish you're requesting 2.4 meters.
Yes, that's right.
Thank you. Madam Secretary, is there any additional correspondence?
There is not.
Thank you. The committee members, I'll go around and ask if you have any questions on the application. Mr. Mahmood?
No question.
Okay, Mr. McLean?
No questions.
Andrew?
No questions or comments. Thank you.
Thank you. And Rick?
No questions or comments.
Thank you. Accordingly, is there anyone from the general public who's registered to speak on the application?
There is not.
Thank you. Again, we need a motion, either to approve or refuse the application, and I need a motion, please. Rick?
I'll make a motion to approve this application, once again, subject to the conditions laid out by the planner.
Is there a seconder? Andrew? All in favor? Against? Unanimous decision. The motion has been carried, and the application will be approved subject to the possible conditions or restrictions as outlined in the planning staff report. Mr. Principe, thank you very much for attending.
Thank you very much also. Have a good night.
Thank you. The next item on the agenda is the minor variance application D13-20-04. The owner is Cache Estate Homes, Bradford, Inc. Cache Estate Homes, the applicant is Marcus Gagliardi, and location is blocks 14 and 15 on plan 51M 1178, 509 and 545 Simcoe Road. The purpose of the application, the applicant is applying for relief from zoning bylaw 2010-050 as amended, respecting the maximum interior side yard and rear yard setback of two townhouse houses units in a residential 2R2-1 zone. Mr. Gagliardi.
Yes,
Want
good
to
evening,
speak to
Chair.
the
Good evening. Hello, good evening. Good evening, Mr. Chair. Good evening, members. I won't give a very long presentation, but I think staff have covered quite a few of the points in their report. We're asking for two variances that apply to essentially three different areas on our lots. We're asking for a reduction in the exterior side yard setback on block 14 and block 15. And we're also asking for a reduction to the rear yard setback on blocks 14. To be clear, those setbacks are being taken from the site triangle line that was created during the detailed engineering process, as well as the subdivision process. And the product that we had contemplated for those lots just hadn't been finalized at the time. So the setbacks are ultimately a byproduct of making product fit within the planning that had already been approved. And ultimately the site triangles being interpreted as we agreed with staff, as property lines that required setbacks. That being said, the houses that we are proposing are compliant everywhere else, and they do fit within the context and character of the planning approvals that were in place for both the subdivision and the original zoning bylaw that was originally approved. As far as blocks 14 goes for the rear yard setback, I do want to point out that these are a very unique product in that they're rear lane townhouses, so there actually isn't a true rear yard. It's actually driveways and a deck that's above the garage. That being said, though, we've met the intent by ensuring that there's the 6-meter driveways, which is the most important for this type of product. And as far as the exterior yards go, we're providing the exact type of streetscape that we had proposed and that was approved by planning staff during the subdivision and zoning process. I've read the conditions from staff, completely agree with them. And I'll leave it to the chair or the other members. If you have any questions, I'm happy to answer them.
Thank you. Before we go there, I ask if there is any additional correspondence received on these applications.
Yes, I do have 2. I received comments from the Transportation Division. The comments are that the setback should be upheld for the daylight triangles of block 15, unit 5 and block 14 abutting Simcoe Road, and the internal site triangle on block 14 Landolfi Way are adequate for the variance. And that is the first one. And the second one is I received comments from Sean Filson at the Lake Simcoe Region Conservation Authority, who has stated that he has no comments for the minor variance application at 509 and 545 Simcoe Road. And that is it.
Okay, thank you. And now we'll circulate. I'll ask the members of the committee if they have any questions on the application. And I'll start with Mr. McLean this time.
No comments.
And Mr. Mahmood.
No comments.
Okay. Andrew.
No comments or questions. Thank you.
Mr. Turner.
Just a quick question. So the changes had to be done because I'm assuming the project kind of changed slightly and you guys had to adjust. That's kind of what I was gathering from what you were mentioning.
Yeah, I wouldn't say the project changed. It's just the actual detailed building product hadn't been finalized prior to the zoning bylaw and the subdivision approval going to council. So that was really the driving force. Not so much a change, just the formality that wasn't in place at the time of the approval.
Okay, no other questions. Thank you.
Okay. Is there any member of the public that's registered to speak?
There are not.
Thank you. Seeing that there are none, I will ask, go around again and see that need a motion to approve or refuse the application. And we'll start with Mr. Andrew.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the application subject to the conditions as identified in the planning staff report.
Thank you. Is there a seconder? Mr. Mahmood? All in favor? Unanimous. The motion is carried and the application indicated to be approved subject to the possible conditions and restrictions as outlined in the planning staff report. Mr. Gagliardi, thank you for attending.
Thank you very much, and happy birthday to Ryan.
Thank you. New business, or is there any new business or unfinished businesses to be discussed?
I do not have any.
Any member have anything to bring up? Thank you. Adjournment. I make a motion to adjourn tonight's meeting. And may I have a seconder, please? Mr. McLean? All in favor? Thank you. Let the minutes show that tonight's meeting has been adjourned at 7 o'clock, say, 7 p.m.